This week's best MMA bets, we're talking UFC 321. I'm going to give you guys my lock of the week, my most confident picks on the card. We'll talk favorite underdogs, Degen props of the night, and then finish it out with the parlays. So make sure you guys smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Turn the post notifications on. Make sure you share the video too. Last week was a pretty crazy card. It was Underdog City. Huge dogs from all different angles dominated UFC Vancouver, seeing Rainier de Ridder in the main event go down, who most of us picked. Seeing Bakoyev get ran over by Belgori, who looked mid on Contender Series, but like an absolute savage inside of the UFC. That was a weird one-off card. We're dusting ourselves off from a crazy last week, and I'm looking at UFC 321, and I feel that I have found the underdog. I'm going for a savage dog lock, a single straight fighter money line in a division that I find a lot of success with savage dog locks. We're going for a heavyweight. So without further ado, the lock of the week. Alexander Volkov is going to be this week's underdog lock. I'm going savage dog at plus 170 for Volkov. I think the chances of success here against Jailton Almeida are crazy high. I like the matchup for him. Volkov, in a perfect world, is fighting in a rematch against Tom Aspinall this Saturday in the main event. He was robbed against Gane in a fight that I think he really has shown the improvements. You remember the first fight against Gane, got kickboxed up, but he's gotten better in all areas. Specifically, though, I think Volkov has shown nice improvements in his ground skills. That fight 3.5 years ago against Tom Aspinall, he got submitted in the first round. Since that point, I think we have a new look Volkov with higher level of confidence on the ground, showing knockout power, KO and dangerous striker Jairzinho Rozenstruik, out kickboxing, knockout hitter Sergey Pavlovich, and then getting robbed against Gane. I feel like Alexander Volkov is the dark horse of this heavyweight division. And Jailton Almeida, though very good, I have my doubts around his chin. Specifically, we saw it fail him badly against Curtis Blades. It was a strange sequence in round number 2 as he shot the takedown, and then Curtis Blades with a bit of shots as Jailton shooting on him, and out he goes. Jailton chin, I have a red flag on. I think Jailton's a little chinny. And I know he's coming off a knockout win in his last fight. He put Sergey Spivak out. The thing with Jailton, he has like that athletic pressure power striking, but he's not crazy technical with his stand-up. It's a lot of wild shit. I think there's a lot of flaws in his striking. And if he cannot get this fight to the ground, kickboxing with a guy as fine-tuned and technical with legit power in Alexander Volkov seems like a recipe for disaster here. Volkov is a full-sized heavyweight coming in upwards of 255 plus. Jailton Almeida himself has said he can make light heavyweight if he really chose to cut that weight off. Now, obviously, he's still a top contender in the heavyweight division with elite BJJ. But I think Volkov can stop his takedowns. I really believe that Alexander Volkov can keep this fight standing and land big shots. And if taken down, I think Volkov could work his way back up to the feet. I don't necessarily feel as though if this fight hits the mat, it's death sentence for Alexander Volkov. I could see him controlling an arm, working towards climbing the cage, using those long legs to create space, using those long arms to create space, getting back up to the feet. And then Jailton Almeida, disheartened, low confidence striking after getting Volkov down and not being able to do anything with it, finds himself getting pieced up. And potentially Volkov on top of Almeida throwing ground and pound wouldn't shock me either. I genuinely believe that Alexander Volkov is a nightmare matchup for an undersized heavyweight in Jailton Almeida. Now, he's not a small heavyweight. He's 6'3". 235 is light, though, and he has good athleticism. And don't be surprised if he comes in heavier this week. But I think if he comes in heavier, that's not necessarily to his benefit either, because then he'll be slower in the stand-up, and I think that he's going to be more likely to get caught with straight shots by Volkov. I really anticipate Jailton Almeida's punch resistance to be put to the test here. And I think that if you've seen Jailton Almeida against Blades, you have to think of it. Okay, that wasn't the hardest shot that put him down. He got knocked out on the regional scene. Jailton's a little chinny. I'm telling you guys, Jailton's a little chinny. If you look at the guys that he's been able to beat, Jairzinho Rozenstruik, power hitting kickboxer, shit ground game. Derek Lewis, power hitter, death punch, mediocre ground game, and uses mostly athleticism to get up to his feet. Jailton still went the distance with him. 5 rounds of dominance, but couldn't find the finish against Derek Lewis. Obviously, the Curtis Blades L, and then the sub of Romanov, then the knockout of Spivak. But those guys do not hold the jock strap of Alexander Volkov. Volkov is an elite heavyweight, one of the best in the world that's been doing this forever. Look at the amount of experience. What is this? His 50th pro fight this Saturday? And at heavyweight, he's only 37? I think Volkov's going to knock him out. I see Volkov putting Jailton away with some punches. I think Jailton gets melted with a straight right. And I think you're going to see the punch resistance isn't great. Like a lot of these Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu specialists, man, obviously Jailton's a different level of athlete, but we see it with them. A big shot lands and he gets buzzed. Like Jailton, we only have the evidence of Curtis Blades putting him away quick. But what about a guy that's tactical on the feet with precision? And a Volkov who in a perfect world is coming into this fight with a serious win streak. He won 4 out of his last 5. And the one loss is the robbery to Ciryl Gane, who's in the main event against Tom Aspinall. I think this is Volkov's time to shine. I think his size advantage is a factor. He's one of the quicker kickboxers in the heavyweight division with technical skill and freakish size. I think Jailton Almeida is getting put away here. Volkov, I like the line. Listen, plus 170 for Alexander Volkov. I think he's just a good straight down the center money line underdog. I don't think you have to go crazy chasing props. I do think there's a chance Volkov puts the lights out. It's plus 300 for a Volkov KO. But if need be, could he shut Almeida down and win a decision? Yes, and that's plus 700. I see Alexander Volkov pulling this one off. I don't think he's getting buzzsawed through in the grappling. I don't think we're going to see Almeida drop Volkov with punches. I think we see Volkov defend the ground pretty well, defend the takedowns very well. And I think the stand-up game of Jailton will be put to the test and he's going to get caught. And I think we're going to see Alexander Volkov pull off the upset and put himself in title contention. I'm going Alexander Volkov as the savage heavyweight underdog lock for UFC 321. And I like that it's a main card fight too that we got the lock on the line for. That is the dog lock. I want to jump to some of the most confident picks. I want to talk about some of the favorites on the card that I see with a high chance of coming through. We'll bring them up on the screen and we'll go one by one. Obviously, Tom Aspinall is the pick. He has a massive advantage on the ground against Ciryl Gane. We saw Volkov out-grapple him. We saw Ngannou out-grapple him. We've seen Ciryl Gane make mistakes on the ground, and it will cost him big against Aspinall, who's the best grappler he's ever faced. And on top of that, it's not like Aspinall is just a grappler. Tom Aspinall has dangerous boxing. He's an explosive puncher with a very quick right hand and power on it too, right? And his ability to dart in and out of range at a high rate. He closes the gap, I want to say at record speed. I obviously don't know if it's a true record, but for a heavyweight, the way that he can close distance is nothing short of spectacular. Now, Ciryl Gane has tremendous kicks from the outside, and he does have dangerous elbows in close, but he doesn't have the big punch power. He has a good long jab, but he doesn't necessarily have a serious consequence when he lands clean on your chin. I think Tom Aspinall can walk through Ciryl Gane's striking. I think Tom Aspinall can have success in the boxing range. In the stand-up, I could see Ciryl Gane dropped with the punch and finished in round 1. I could see him knocked out. But I also think that Tom Aspinall is a high IQ fighter, and he recognizes that Ciryl Gane does have a bit of a hole in the ground game. Not a terrible hole like he can't stop takedowns ever, but at this level, Tom Aspinall's grappling difference is a substantial element of success in this fight if he chooses to go there, which I think he will. I think Aspinall can get him down. I think Aspinall can beat him up. I think Aspinall can choke him out. I think Tom Aspinall is going to go out there and finish Ciryl Gane within the first 2 rounds. I see it as a fight that Tom Aspinall truly shows his elite level. And this feels like the vacant heavyweight title fight. Of course, he was, promoted to heavyweight champ, but there wasn't a big celebration around it or anything like that. It was the John Jones retirement. Interim champ gets promoted to world champ. But this is really now the heavyweight championship test. He wins this fight, he's the true heavyweight champion. I think he does beat Ciryl Gane. I don't think Ciryl Gane is going to be able to keep it striking. I think Ciryl Gane wants to attack the legs. I think Ciryl Gane wants to attack that knee. I think Ciryl Gane wants to stay moving laterally and pick shots from range and hope that maybe Aspinall's gas tank is a true flaw, and we see him slow down after the first and second round, and then Cyril Gane starts opening him up with big shots. But I'm just not expecting it. I think Tom Aspinall buzzsaws through him. I think he can win this fight on the feet with boxing, and I think he can win it. He can win it on the ground with ground and pound, or win it on the ground with his jiu-jitsu skills, man. Tom Aspinall should go out and finish. He's a minus 400 favorite. I think he's going to get it done inside the distance. Not like inside distance is going to get you crazy value. It's minus 300 for inside distance Aspinall, opposite minus 400 on the money line. But the Aspinall win inside makes a lot of sense to me. And I do think he's going to finish Cyril Gane and probably submission. That kind of calls me, but he's talking about getting a KO. I think he's saying that, and Aspinall is smart. Then he's going to mix that takedown in, and Cyril Gane obviously has some susceptible grappling, and I think at this level, Aspinall can definitely get some under his neck. Choke him out like he did Arlovsky. I could see that for him here too. So Aspinall, confident pick. Let's keep running. Ikram Aliskerov. I think he does everything better than Jun Young Park besides maybe combination punches, but the issue with Jun Young Park, he doesn't have a lot of power. He has good boxing, and he's sharp with combos, not like Jack Della, Maddalena, Ilia Topuria sharp, but he puts pressure on his opponents, and he throws multi-shot combinations, and he has good boxing chops and good wrestling chops too. I feel like Jun Young Park is good everywhere, but the thing is, I think Ikram Aliskerov is legitimate top 15, and this is the type of level where I see Park stopped at. I think Aliskerov is able to get Park down. I think he's able to beat him up from top position. Aliskerov has been a first-round finisher inside of the UFC and with Contender Series. All of his fights have been one-round fights. You have to favor Aliskerov to hunt for a finish. I don't think it would be terrible if Aliskerov dominated Jun Young Park in wrestling and won a decision and showed that he has that, 3-round gas tank at this level. Normally, Aliskerov just buzzsaw through people. I do anticipate a finish, I must say. At minus 225, the money line is not a terrible odds. Not at all. For a guy that I really see with clear-cut advantages. And then you look towards Aliskerov to win this fight inside of the distance, sits at plus 125. Aliskerov by a decision, plus 190. I have to favor Aliskerov inside the distance. I think he could end up ground and pounding Park, and I could see big shots landing, potentially a submission opening up. But if he did win a decision, that's why I like the money line best, right? Instead of trying to chase a prop or something like that with the Aliskerov fight, you go straight down the center, money line calling Aliskerov. He goes out there, and however he pulls it off, he pulls it off. And I think that he's one of those guys that you could parlay up. I do think Aliskerov with clear-cut edges, man. I couldn't find the reasoning Park really could beat him. Is it a knockout punch? I don't think so. Is it a submission? Definitely not. Does he outwork Aliskerov over 3 rounds? I really don't see it. I think Ikram Aliskerov is better at pretty much everything. He hits harder. I think that he's the better wrestler. I think he's got better ground and pound. I think he's more dangerous with submissions. And I think that he's the better fighter. Aliskerov by sub, I will say, could be sneaky value if you're looking to chase. Plus 550, Aliskerov by sub, a bit of a Degen call. And I'll mention that again during Degen props. But, if you're looking for best odds, Aliskerov by sub is something to consider. Next up, Azat Maksum over Mitch Raposo. I think Azat Maksum can defend the takedown. Mitch Raposo's decent with boxing pressure and mixing in takedowns. He likes to get chest to chest. He likes to work you against the cage, look to drag you down. His UFC run has been uneventful. 0-2 in the UFC. Lost to very good striker Andre Lima. Lost to very good striker Suma Darji. Now he's taken on Azat Maksum, who's a long and decent straight punch hitter, and I'd say a solid striker. But Azat Maksum, you got to remember the base of his game is his grappling. He was a wrestler first. He does have good submissions. Watch for his front headlock positions. He's got good, gillies, front choke, etc. I think that there's a chance with those long, skinny arms, Azat Maksum could end up finding Mitch Raposo's neck and putting him in a gilly or something like that. But I could also see 3 hard rounds of work between the two. Maksum ends up getting it on the cards. So Maksum, a bit of a fat favorite at 4-1 odds, but the likelihood of success seems rather high for him. Maksum by sub sits at plus 400. That would be more of a Degen chase, but I kind of feel like decision win, Maksum takes potentially all 3, but at least 2 out of the 3 rounds. I think he's going to be sharp from the outside. I think Raposo is going to struggle to close the gap. I think he's going to be getting hit with straight shots. I think Raposo's takedowns fail him here. I could see Maksum surprising Raposo with a takedown or a trip, finding himself in top position. I do think threatening with a choke of some kind, as Raposo's looking to shoot, could be a real key element of success for the side of Azat Maksum. I just see him as the better fighter, and I think that he has a lot more upside, taking on, pretty dangerous Tagiru Lambekov, high level, Charles Johnson, high level, and he was doing well in the Johnson fight. He's only got one UFC win, but I do think that Azat Maksum does have legit skill, and Mitch Raposo, scrappy boxing, decent takedowns, but I just don't think he wins at this level. And I'm going to say that Azat Maksum wins pretty clearly. Next up, obviously, Umar Nurmagomedov. I have to pick him as a confident call. The odds are terrible. It's minus 625. So you're not going out and money line betting Umar Nurmagomedov or anything like that. But I do predict that Umar Nurmagomedov will find some clear success in the stand-up and out kickbox Mario Bautista. On top of that, I must say, I'm very curious to see how the wrestling engagements go between the two. I could see Nurmagomedov finding himself in top position here on Bautista. Though Bautista is the definition of a workhorse, really good cardio, decent wrestling, in-your-face pressure style, Umar Nurmagomedov is just so much sharper in the stand-up, and I think he's just better everywhere. Bautista is kind of like the Merab light. I think this is the perfect comeback fight for Bautista, for Nurmagomedov against a Bautista. A Bautista who can push a hard 3-round pace, a Bautista who's physically strong, a Bautista who's pretty good everywhere. But Nurmagomedov's still exceptional. I still really am under the belief, I have to say, that Nurmagomedov is the guy to give Merab the toughest fight in a rematch. Gave him hell in the first fight, obviously lost, but he's the true number 2 bantamweight in the world right now. And I think 2026, Dvalishvili Nurmagomedov 2 is a must-see championship fight. And I think Nurmagomedov passes this test here. Now, of course, it's 3 rounds to work, so we won't get to see Nurmagomedov have to push that hard 5-round pace and find out if there's a gas tank improvement and if maybe next time out he could handle Merab over 5. But when things are going his way in a 5-rounder, he was fine against Sandhagen. It's just Merab melts you with so much wrestling pressure and just constant attack. Very few people can deal with that. Nobody at bantamweight has been able to deal with it. Very few people, probably even across the featherweight division, can deal with that type of pressure attack. Umar Nurmagomedov, though, I truly believe is still the worst possible matchup for Merab and the only guy I could see beating him. I think Nurmagomedov wins here. I have to favor a decision. Batista's hard to finish. Decision win for Nurmagomedov is terrible, though. Minus 165. No excitement there. If Nurmagomedov gets his second knockout win as a pro, it's plus 700. But yeah, that's more Degen. Plus 335 for sub. I think Nurmagomedov takes it on the cards. I think this fight probably hits the over 2.5, which is minus 250. I don't think that's a terrible idea. We'll talk over-unders in the prop section as well. Definitely one that could be worth locking into a parlay or something like that. But the Nurmagomedov side should be getting his hand raised. Now, those are the 4 most confident picks. I want to give you guys a special 2 more. Let's bring them up now. We got Nasrat Haqparast. I feel as though Nasrat Haqparast is going to go out there and put on a quality display against a guy that I just have to speak truthfully of. Against a guy that's not proven at a high level in Quillian Salkild. I think Haqparast can outbox him over the 3 rounds. I think the UFC experience is a massive advantage. I think that the boxing chops and kickboxing game overall of Haqparast is sharp. He's got a high volume attack. He's sound technically. He's defensively sound. He's offensively sound. His grappling defense is quite good. All we've seen from Salkild is a quick knockout of Anshul Jubli, and we've seen Salkild out-wrestle a guy in, Ashmuz, who neither of them are near the level of Nasrat. Nasrat has, wins over Jared Gordon, wins over Esteban Ribovics. I just don't think Salkild's ready for this level jump, and the fact that these odds are even is kind of mind-blowing to me. I think that Nasrat should be a clear minus 150 to minus 200 favorite. Yes, Salkild's a great prospect with a lot of talent, but nothing that he's done yet tells me he beats Nasrat Haqparast. If you beat Nasrat Haqparast, you're on the short list of guys fighting in the top 15, or at least for a chance in the top 15. And in just his 3rd UFC fight in his mid-20s, he's going to beat a guy that's been here and is on a tremendous win streak right now. Nasrat has won, 5 straight fights? Nasrat Haqparast, to me, is just a bad matchup for this young Quillian Salkild talent. Quillian right now is 25. If he was 27, had a few more UFC fights, this would be a reasonable fight. But at just 25 years old to fight Nasrat Haqparast, I think this is going to end up being too much. And I'm going to say Nasrat takes him long and then wins on the judges' scorecards. I see him getting the hand raised in this spot. I think he can pull this one out. I believe in Nasrat Haqparast. Now, I also like Jacqueline Amorim to win, but I must tell you, I hate the odds. But as far as just a straight fighter pick, I think she should have a clear-cut advantage in wrestling / jiu-jitsu. And I have to really say, it's hard for me to predict a girl who's fought, 3 times over 6 years, very inactive, injury-prone Inoue versus an Amorim who I think's on fire right now. 4 straight wins, 4 straight finishes. I mean, even the fight against Sam Hughes 2.5 years ago, had her back and nearly won by first-round sub. As long as she doesn't gas, she should be able to win. I don't know where Inoue's at after the layoff. I mean, her boxing's decent. She's got a decent ground game, too. A lot of wins by submission, but she's one of those girls that I'm just like, this should be Amorim's victory. Like, Inoue, too long off, man. 2 years since the last fight. Fight before that, 5 years. Fight before that. Now we're looking at 6 years. 3 fights across 6 years is crazy to me. And this is a serious layoff. And her only win is against Yanan Wu, right? Split decision in the debut. And Hannah Goldie, neither of which are in the UFC anymore. And Amorim's on a nice 4-fight win streak with high-level jiu-jitsu and definitely seems to be a girl on the top 15 track and one to watch that I could see making waves. I don't feel the same way against the inactive Inoue. I'm going for the full-time fighter. I'm going to Amorim to go out and handle business. I like her as a confident pick. Now, I do want to jump to the next section. I want to talk everybody's favorite underdogs. All right, so let's bring them up now. We're going to go one by one, actually. First, bam, Virna Jandiroba. I feel like if you eliminate their first fight from the picture, okay, and you just look at what they've done lately, Jandiroba should be a clear favorite. But the fact that Dern had beat her before and maybe is a stylistic kryptonite, maybe. Now Dern is sitting at the favorite status, which I just think is undeserved. I mean, you look at Virna Jandiroba's wins, they're hyper impressive. Beat Yan Xiaonan, Amanda Lemos, Lupi Godinez, Marina Rodriguez, Angela Hill, Mackenzie Dern's last 5. Win over Amanda Ribas, win over Lupi Godinez, lost to Lemos, lost to Andrade, win over Hill. Before that, she lost to Yan Xiaonan. She lost to Marina Rodriguez, controversial one against Tisha Pennington in 2022. Like, resume comparison, I'm sitting here, I'm like, bro, they fought for the first time in 2020. They fought for the first time nearly 5 years ago. It was December 12th, 2020. Now they fight in October of 2025. Jandiroba's gotten way better since then. Jandiroba is on a fantastic 5-fight winning streak against hyper elite competition, showing dominance in the grappling. Wrestling is on point, calm with the striking. I think Virna Jandiroba outworks Mackenzie Dern. I think she can out-wrestle her. I think Dern gets crazy on the feet and rips some power shots. I think Jandiroba's reactive to it, defends the shots well, times key takedowns. I think this time Jandiroba can showcase the ground skills. I think this time Jandiroba is able to be positionally dominant and find her way to beat Mackenzie Dern. Now at open, Jandiroba was minus 150 as the favorite. Now Mackenzie Dern sits at minus 155. I think that Virna Jandiroba wins. I don't understand why there's a line flip. Is there an injury going on? Because 76% of Tapology is on Jandiroba. She's a very popular underdog. Plus 135 line for her. The line is literally flipped in the other direction. So I don't know, man. The bookies always have a weird method to their madness. They might know something we don't, but if Jandiroba shows up healthy, I think over 5 rounds, she can out-wrestle Mackenzie Dern, out-position her on the ground, and take a competitive decision and become the champ. I don't think Dern is the best at the weight class. I think Jandiroba might be the best at the weight class. So I'm saying Jandiroba's a live dog. I think she finds a way to win. I think that she can use her superior wrestling to counter the high-level jiu-jitsu of Dern. And I think Jandiroba's technical striking calmness can also counteract the more aggressive and at times reckless stand-up game of Mackenzie Dern. So the Jandiroba side should be able to pull it off against Dern, ripping some wild power shots. Now, this is a close money, near even line. Matheus Camilo, he's minus 103, so ever so slight underdog. The X factor of this fight is that Abdul Karim Al-Selwady has 4 losses as a pro. All 4 losses are knockout losses. He's been KO'd 3 times in the first round, was KO'd in his most recent fight in round number 3 against Loic Rajabov. You look at the side of Matheus Camilo. There's knockout power, there's submission threat. 4 KO wins as a professional. Now, of course, he does have 3 submission losses. The kryptonite to him at times is the submission threat. Now, Al-Selwady, 2 sub wins. He's a good wrestler, but when I think of Al-Selwady, I'm not terrified by his submission threat. Obviously, Gabe Green was able to choke him out last time, Matheus Camilo, in a big upset. But Gabe Green's one of those weird cases where he showed up at 155 in crazy shape and looked like a menace to society. When I look at the stand-up, I like the power set of Matheus Camilo. I think his jiu-jitsu can match the offensive wrestling of Al-Selwady and cause for counters there. And I feel like in a competitive stand-up fight, both guys having moments, I could see Al-Selwady getting a little crazy and caught with another overhand. I'm going with Matheus Camilo. I think he wins as a dog. Close money dog, definitely live dog. Obviously, I like Volkov as the dog lock, but there's still more in the dog picks. I have to mention them. Now, I do want to talk about the Degen prop section, and I want to use it to kind of elaborate some other points. So let's jump to the Degen props now. So there's a man by the name of Azamat Mirzakhanov on the card. He's 15-0. He is sitting at -115, even money down the center with Rakic. I don't think he's the craziest money line ever, but note that Rakic is coming in the best shape of his life. Mirzakhanov, undefeated pro. I think Mirzakhanov could find the Rakic chin. It's +165 for the KO, but I will tell you, at times, Rakic fights very defensive. They could go longer. So with this matchup here, it's one of those fights where I feel like it could potentially be money line or pass. Mirzakhanov might be forced to go over that, 1.5 round mark. It's -225. Though I think his counters are elite level and he could rock Rakic. If Rakic survives some big shots early, could end up winning that 3rd round. We might be looking at a 29-28 Mirzakhanov. But something I just wanted to talk about here that I didn't get to allude to with, the other sections. Now, as far as some of these props, I already mentioned Aspinall inside distance. Yes, the odds are not great at -300. I think he's live for a submission, which is around +160. KO +110. I think submission is more likely for him. Volkov to go out and win by KO sits at the +300 mark. But what's wild is it's +700 for a decision. And I could see Volkov shutting Jailton Almeida down and winning on the scorecard. So just something that I felt was worth mentioning. Nasrat Haqparast, I anticipate competitive fight. I anticipate a Haqparast win. Haqparast on the judges' scorecards win by a decision, +190. Over 2.5 was -200 as well. Now, Umar Nurmagomedov's over 2.5 is -250 with Bautista. I do think they're going over. I like that over 2.5. I think that it's fairly high likelihood of success for the two of them. Now, I think that Chris Barnett Hamdi fight, probably a stay away. I honestly don't even want to mention the props for that. I'll go Volter Walker and Louis Sutherland. Now, Volter Walker is my pick, but I will tell you, Louis Sutherland hits really hard. Sutherland by KO +400, Walker inside distance -155. I think Walker wins from top position. But if he gets crazy on the feet, like Sutherland could definitely knock him out. That could be like a contrarian side KO play. Now, of course, you guys know, Thursday, I do PropAholics. We talk every single prop bet in depth for every fight, and I run fighter polls throughout the entire show, and you guys get to vote for what you think is most likely to happen. So tune into PropAholics tomorrow, Thursday evening. We're going to be talking the props more in depth, but this is nice, like a nice little preview look beforehand. The deep dive is Thursday night as a community for the props, but just some ideas I have now. Maybe you wait till after Thursday to throw down the prop hammers, but obviously, you know that there's some things that I'm thinking are fairly live to come true fruition, So something worth saying. I want to see if there's any other points I want to allude to before that I didn't write down here. I feel like my head's in the right place for the stuff that we talked about. And I think Thursday, maybe we'll find some sneakier lines. We've been hitting on a lot of sneaky little women's props for inside distance on Thursday. Maybe we got more coming tomorrow, so tune into that. I want to talk parlays right now. Okay, make sure you guys smash the like button. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. I want to run through what I wrote down for parlays, all right? At the top, Aliskerov, Nurmagomedov, -153. I think the OV Supremacy 2-leg parlay is very live. You're looking for a safe city 2-leg lock. These hit with the highest likelihood of success. There it is. It's not plus money, but if you're winning, you are getting plus money. Down below it, Aliskerov and Aspinall. I think this is a lock city parlay. Obviously, when I do the lock, I got to have it a little bit of plus money. Not possible. Alaskarov and Aspinall at minus 133, but I think it hits. And I think that Lock City is live. Down below that, Aspinall, Nurmagomedov, and Maksum at minus 118. Again, you're not in the plus money status yet, but I do think it's a very likely 3. Now, for the value 3, if you like Aspinall, Alaskarov, and Haqparast, plus 234 for the 3-legger, you start going into plus money territory now. Below that, a lock and a dog. Alaskarov and Volkov, plus 285, another OV supremacy parlay. Down below that, Alaskarov, Aspinall, and Volkov. So Lock City with the dog city parlay, plus 381. I feel like it makes sense. Down below that is Volkov and Jandiroba, doggy style, 2 underdogs, plus 560. Then we got the 4-leg alternate with Volkov, Nurmagomedov, Mirzakhanov, and Alaskarov at plus 761. With that 4-leg alternate, it's the OV supremacy parlay. Now, of course, you could remove Mirzakhanov and still talk. We'll talk about that after I finish running through this, because you guys know, if you stick around, I do a couple extras with the prop odds on screen and whatnot. So we'll elaborate further in a moment. But let's keep going down first. Savage parlay, Aspinall, Alaskarov, Volkov, Jandiroba. We need 2 dogs, and we need the confident favorites. Plus 1,055 for a 4-leg is nice. Degen, Savage below, Alaskarov, Aspinall, Haqparast, Maksum, Volkov, and Jandiroba. Plus 2,656. And then Aspinall sub, Volkov, KO, Haqparast decision right there would be a cycle parlay. People ask all the time for the cycle. I will come up with something a little different. My version of the cycle parlay, a lot of times I like inside distance better, but for the sake of this show, this is what we'll do. But I will add more tomorrow, and I'm thinking probably post weigh-in, I'll play with some things. But these are good templates on the slate right now. Obviously, I'm kind of thinking that like Alaskarov, Aspinall, and Volkov at plus 381 is a lucrative play. I'm thinking about, hey, you know what? Volkov, Nurmagomedov, Mirzakhanov, Alaskarov plus 761 is a live 4-leg alternate. But I want to take it a step further. Let me bring this up here, all right? And let's just look at the odds on screen right now. So, something that I wrote down before the show, Nasrat Haqparast, Azat Mirzakhanov, Tom Aspinall, Ikram Alaskarov, value 5, plus 532. I guess it's a value 4-leg. If you want to spin things and you like the OV side, like you like the OV supremacy parlay, but I could see there being a bit of hesitancy on Mirzakhanov because this is the biggest fight of his life. Alexander Rakic is quite intimidating. I understand, okay? Volkov, Nurmagomedov with Alaskarov is still a fantastic 3-leg play at plus 355. It puts a high confidence parlay with an underdog. And then from there, you want to build it further. Aspinall on your slate for this 4-leg at plus 469. Very fucking good. Very fucking live. Azat Maksum should pull through, plus 611. And then if you like Haqparast there, plus 1258 for an extra Degen lay for you, all right? Drop a W sneaky in the chat if you stuck around and didn't just screenshot and bail, all right? I hope you guys enjoyed this week's Best MMA Bets. I feel like I went pretty in-depth. And PropAholics goes down Thursday. If you're not watching PropAholics live, you're missing out on the voting element and the interaction in chat. But obviously the replay up on the channel after Thursday. Tune in 8:30 p.m. Eastern time Thursday to PropAholics. We'll go deeper about the props. This week's Best MMA Bets, I think I got some savage money line calls. I feel like I'm on the money with the underdogs. I like the most confident picks, and I'm loving a lot of these parlays. So let me know in the comments what you think of them. You got some different? You think I'm on? Because I think I'm on. I want to hear from you. If you got nothing to say in the comments, please enjoy the content. W in the chat to boost the algorithm for your boy. UFC 321 is upon us. I can't wait. Smash the likes on your way out. If you're new, subscribe it up and turn on the post notifications too. And if you really like what you heard, share the video. Help grow the channel by sharing it. Word of mouth or a little text message. Send it to a grandma. Send it to an aunt. Send it to an uncle. Send it to a friend. Whoever. It works beautifully. I love you guys. I thank you all for tuning in, and keep it locked in with your boy for the daily content. Fight Companion on Saturday. I can't wait for it. Early start, 10 a.m. Eastern time. Make sure you watch it. I'll see you guys on the next one, all right? Much love. Peace out.